He's Nick Wright. First things first, co-host on Fox Sports 1. Also has a podcast that he does. What's Right with Nick Wright that he does with his son, and he joins us on the program. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Dan. Every time I come on, you guys are talking about some golf course you're going to play.
Well, no,
this happened last time, too.
I've played it. Todd, we were talking about Tiger maybe trying to play Augusta.
Yeah.
And then I talked about
exciting.
walking it, and it's a lot hillier than what people think when you're watching on TV. And so then
that's why people come to you for the first-hand See, I could never do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't. You know what? Can I reveal something here? In fact, I'm not even asking. I'm going to do it. So Dan and I are actual friends now. We had dinner together. I'm sure he's talked to you all about it quite a bit. It was a wonderful time. And there's nothing that, every once in a while, my ego needs a resetting. And I got it at this meal because I walk into this fancy steakhouse Dan invites me to. And he and I are walking towards our table, and at each different person, whether it's the maitre d' or the waiter or the busser, whomever it is, his name is Mr. Patrick, and my name is Sir. And I'm like, damn, don't know me, do they? They know him. He's Mr. Patrick. I'm just the guy with him. Like, is that your accountant friend? Who is that? Okay. All right. So, yeah, but it was a great time. It was great to see you, my friend.
Yes, it was.
My friend, Dan Patrick.
Yes. We thought the over-under was how long, Paulie?
90 seconds before you mentioned your dinner.
Okay. Yeah. So where did he go? Was he under?
18 seconds.
Oh, 18. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I bet the under, buddy.
Okay.
Cash in. Pay me.
A couple of NFL things. Why do you think the NFL is looking at reconsidering overtime?
Oh, listen, because I think that they're doing it because the media is pushing them to do it. I don't think they should do it. I think sometimes the NFL can be a somewhat reactionary league. And, when Patrick Mahomes got screwed out of a chance to go to a Super Bowl 4 years ago, nobody cares because the Patriots get to go. So there wasn't a big push for it. But when, God forbid, Josh Allen doesn't get a chance to go to the Super Bowl, then all of a sudden we have to redo things. It's stupid. The goal of sports is to win in regulation. If you don't win in regulation, you have failed to achieve your goal. Fairness is no longer my biggest concern. Like you have failed to achieve your goal, and the idea that we can just act like fatigue and injury aren't a big part of this, I think is silly.
The initial reaction you had when Tyreek Hill announced he was going to the Dolphins from your Chiefs was?
Well, the initial reaction was I was not pleased, obviously, but once I had time to fully digest it and think about it and see the return, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it for a number of reasons. One is we have about a 10-player list of, over the last few years, excellent player X traded for a first-round pick and then some. And aside from the Jalen Ramsey trade, there isn't a single one that you would say, if you remove the quarterbacks, I'm not talking about Stafford, take quarterbacks out of it, position player guy, that you would say is a home run for the acquiring team. Stephon Diggs was a home run for the Bills, but it was also a home run for the Vikings. They got Justin Jefferson. Khalil Mack did not work out for the Bears. Jamal Adams did not work out for the Seahawks. Laramie Tunsil has not worked out for the Texans. So I think in the moment, it sucks because you lose an awesome player. But then when you get you're not paying the player all that money and you're getting the draft picks, it can work out. And I get thrown in my face by your favorite member of First Things First, Kevin Wildes. That's the other thing at this dinner. My God, you couldn't stop talking about how much he likes Wildes. It's like, hey, buddy, I'm here. He's not. Sorry you wouldn't respond to your text. But regardless, set that aside. Wildes always throws in my face the Patriots this, Patriots that, the real dynasty. This is a move the Patriots would have made, correct?
Yeah.
Trade Tyreek Hill rather than pay him $30 million a year, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's like Richard Seymour when they traded him to the Raiders.
Exactly what I said. It's not because they thought Richard Seymour was done being a great player. It's because they thought that they could add more total value to their team with the draft capital acquired and with the cap space freed up to fill in other holes. I think their offense, if you have Patrick Mahomes and an adequate offensive line, and they have now more than adequate offensive line, your offense is at worst an A-. And so fill in the holes elsewhere.
But the rest of the AFC West came up.
Well, that is true. With that said, that cuts both ways. So you have the Broncos win right now, trade all those picks. The Raiders win right now, trade all those picks. Well, they sure as hell better hope they win, because, by the way, I think the Broncos and Raiders, despite the moves, are the third and fourth teams in the division. I think the Chiefs and Chargers still ahead of them. And if they don't win right now they're minus picks. So the Chiefs, meanwhile, are plus picks. But the other thing is this. Of course, the other teams in the AFC West are trying to catch up. Chiefs won this division 6 years in a row. That's 4 Mahomes years and 2 Alex Smith years. And I know it's like trendy right now. It's not trendy in Vegas. Vegas still has the Chiefs as the favorite. But it's trendy to be like, oh, Kansas City, are they going to make the playoffs? Are they the favorites in the division? And I would just ask people, if you take any division in football and say one team has clearly the best coach and clearly the best quarterback, is that team going to be the favorite in every division? The answer is, of course, yes. And the Chiefs clearly have both.
He's Nick Wright, First Things First co-host on Fox Sports 1. I was wondering about the NBA now as we head towards the end of March and we start to handicap how this is going to sort out. And you can't help but think about the Lakers. And I started to think about the Lakers with LeBron usually has a 4-year plan wherever he goes. Cleveland, 4 years, and then Miami, 4 years, back to Cleveland, now here with the Lakers. Do you think that this 4-year, is he in for the long haul with the Lakers, which means maybe 1 or 2 more years?
Well, I think he's certainly in for the Lakers for next year. I think after that, because you're right about the 4-year plans, but he extended the contract a year or so right after the championship. And I think 2 things have happened. One is he obviously was wrong in pushing for Russell Westbrook, and the front office was wrong in acquiescing if they actually thought it wasn't going to work. That's what the front office is there for. But I also think maybe LeBron underestimated himself in that how long he was going to be able to still be playing at this level. Because I think if he knew after that year 19, I'm going to win the scoring title, I'm going to average 30 a game, that I could clearly still be the best player on a champion if the right pieces are around me, I think he would have given himself more flexibility. Instead, I think maybe he thought, I'm going to be phasing into a different part of my career. So let me make sure I'm with a franchise that historically is always trying to win immediately, and a player, Anthony Davis, 10 years my junior, who, you know what I mean, can be the best guy. AD hasn't stepped up to that. The franchise hasn't stepped up to that. LeBron's done his part, and it's gotten them what might be not even in the play-in. Not even in the play-in. And I have some takes on that, Dan, if you want them.
Yeah,
because
sure.
Something fun. So it's all NBA voting time coming up. And by the way, I still don't have a vote. And I was told by people that would know, well, you've never worked for you don't work for a broadcast, you don't write for a newspaper, hard to get a vote. Then I hear yesterday, Ryan Russillo got a vote. I'm sitting right here, guys. I'm sitting right here, no vote. That's fine. So my guy LeBron James will win the scoring title this year. And I can already see it festering, this idea of, ooh, is he going to be can you be on the All-NBA team if your team misses the playoffs? Can you do it? And to which I would say, first of all, every scoring champion ever has been first or second team All-NBA, except for Bob McAdoo, who fell to Dave Cowens in terrible vote, and Kareem. That's fine. That's first point. Second point is this. Last year's scoring champion didn't make the playoffs either. Does anybody know who it is? Does anybody remember? Steph Curry. Was there a lot of Steph Curry slander last year, Dan?
No.
Was there a lot of why isn't Steph Curry carrying the Lakers or the Warriors? No. Is it because, he had so recently won a championship? No. LeBron's won a title more recently than him. That's the other thing I have to say about the Lakers. Folks would be like, how long does LeBron get to bask in the championship glow? When does the honeymoon end? There's been one champion crowned since the Lakers. Do you know the full list of people who have won a title in the NBA more recently than LeBron James? The Milwaukee Bucks roster, that's it. He's won a championship more recently than everybody else. People are like, oh, man, honeymoon's over. Honeymoon just started. We just started the honeymoon.
Where'd you get that tone? I mean, you're Mariah Carey. You're going up.
I know. This is the. I only do this on your show.
I know.
Because I try to bring something to the table, something different. I don't want to make it just like all my other media appearances. I have the podcast, I have the TV show. Like, why people are oversaturated with Nick Wright content, so why would they tune in especially for this? And it's because you get this version, right? I get worked up.
I brought this up that whenever I bring up MVP candidates, and I have voted on the NBA awards, but, not anymore because I left those broadcast partners. It was really a choice of mine. I wasn't working at the mothership, and I decided that I'd let guys like Ryan Russillo come in and maybe vote on this.
It's unbelievable.
No offense.
Nothing against Ryan, but if he qualifies, how do I not qualify?
I agree.
Did you see my video? I recited every MVP in league history in reverse order from Jokic to 1960. I screwed up on Bullet Bob Pettit. That's it. 59. That should be part of the criteria, but go ahead.
All right, every time I bring up MVPs, candidates, then I leave out Devin Booker. And I hear from the Phoenix Suns fans. And my point to them is he is your best player. He's not your most valuable player because Chris Paul is your most valuable player. And I think Devin Booker is unfairly characterized as just a great shooter. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's the most valuable player on his own team.
So last year, I thought Chris Paul was the most valuable player in the whole league. And I was just crushed by the people that actually have votes saying, how dare you say anyone's more valuable than Nikola Jokic? Then Chris Paul played Nikola Jokic in the playoffs and swept his ass out. But set that aside. So last year, I was with you. This year, I think Booker has taken another step. And I think it's at least arguable that he is, because they played really well without Chris. Not quite as well as with him. And he played point guard some. But the best Booker can do is fourth place or fifth place on balance. Like nobody is, even the Suns fans that are arguing he should be included are just arguing. They just want him on the ballot.
Yeah.
And the guy who I think is not getting included in the conversation, who I think shouldn't just be on the ballot, but has an argument should win it, is Luka. What's the argument against Luka? The Mavs might be the 3 seed. His second best player is Spencer Dinwiddie. His second best player before the trade deadline actively hated him and Kristaps. He doesn't have great teammates around him. He's, 28, 9, and 9? Like, people are like he started slow. Well, he must have picked up steam because on the year he's 28, 9, and 9. So I don't know why Luka's not getting discussed. I think it's a pretty clear at this point top 6. I think Ja has played himself out of it because he's missed so much time because they're 18-2 without him. I think the top 6 in one order or another is Luka, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, Booker, Tatum. I think Booker has, to me, earned consideration, but just same with Tatum, end of the ballot consideration.
Yeah, and then you have the Celtics if they're the number 1 seed in the East, and I got to give credit. I know we sometimes give too much credit. It's like, well, the best player on the best team, and then you got to put him in the MVP conversation. But, Tatum, and they play defense too. It's not like a one-dimensional guy.
Listen, I have been Tatum skeptical compared to other people because people are like, hey, he's top 10 player. And I'm like, okay, list them. Because these guys have 16 people in their top 10. You got to actually so Tatum, Tatum to me was right on the cusp of the top 15, along with Booker and Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young, those guys, right? Tatum, what has happened the last 6 weeks is, all of a sudden, instead of being 44% from the field, he's 54% from the field. His efficiency has skyrocketed, and the Celtics are 31-10 since New Year's Day. Well, that's a half a season of a 60-win pace. So you have to get – that's not a small sample anymore.
Yeah.
And so Tatum, to me, it's not just that they're winning more. He's playing better. I still don't totally trust him in a series, and I'll tell you this much. Their fans don't trust him either. Because their fans were all angry. Oh, Nick, they're the 1 seed. Respect the Celtics. And then Robert Williams went down. And they're like, we're screwed now. I don't mean to be rude. Robert Williams is a nice player. If your championship hopes were Robert Williams contingent, then you didn't have championship hopes, fellas. Just letting you know.
Tell us about the podcast, the What's Right with Nick Wright.
Oh, thank you for asking, Dan. I appreciate that. It's a few times a week. It's me with my sidekick happens to be my son, who I told you quite a bit about that dinner I mentioned. By the way, that's over 2.5 mentions of the dinner. So I got the under on when I did it.
I was going to pay for dinner because Nick had always said, I invite you to the games and, you never want to be around me. He pulls out a wad of cash. So we're at a steakhouse, and I go, what the hell are you doing? And he's just peeling off Bill. Yeah, Paulie.
I think that's a bit of a baller move, as the kids say.
Well, he came in with a baller coat on. I know that.
I had a great coat.
Like it was almost
great coat.
Like a Denzel Washington American gangster type. Like he came in.
It was a great coat.
Yes, it was.
It was a statement. It's a statement piece. It was a statement wad of money.
It was blood red.
This was intense.
The coat was blood red like our steak. And
Yeah.
he came in and he meant business there, but he pulls out this wad of cash. And I'm going, who pays with a wad of cash?
Well,
You
let
did.
me tell you a couple things. And what did I tell you? You were like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm leaving here and going to a poker game. So I need cash on me. Also, I'm not the greatest with budgeting. So what I've started to do is at the beginning of a week, I take out X amount of dollars. And when I'm out of them, I'm out of them. No more credit cards for your old buddy Nick Wright. We're paying cash on everything we can. We're a cash only business, not a lot of paper trail. And by the way, people like it. People respect it. And that waiter appreciated. He got his tip in the moment. He didn't have to wait for any card to go through, anything like that.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about the podcast, it's me and my son. It's a few days a week. And starting here in a few weeks, we are doing something I'd been working on for 2 years because I thought I was going to write a book, but instead I'm doing it as this audio video series, the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years in NBA history. So Kareem's rookie season, essentially, to right now, the 50 greatest players ever. We're getting Bernard King, snubbed from the top 75 list. Your buddy Nick Wright's got him. Sidney Moncrief, an outrageous omission from the top 75 list. Your buddy's got him. So we're going to do that, counting it down. How about that?
All right. I like it.
Subscribe, people.
How do they subscribe?
Oh, you can subscribe on YouTube if you want to see. If you would like to just listen on your favorite podcast platforms, just type in What's Right. That's right with a W. And I would say if I can just get 10% of Dan Patrick's listeners to subscribe, and you don't even have to listen, guys, just hit the subscribe button. I don't really care if you listen. I just want you to subscribe. Then I'm in there.
All right.
Then all of a sudden. But last thing. I thought you were going to tell him. Did you tell Paulie why I demanded to pay? My rationale, do you remember?
Yes, I do. I wanted to pay so then I would be out of the doghouse, the Nick Wright doghouse.
Yeah.
I was good. And then he goes, no, I'm going to pay because then you have to take me out to dinner because I paid for this dinner.
Yeah. Obligated to a second dinner.
I know.
The old second dinner obligation.
I know. Yeah, Paul.
It's like when you go on a first date with a girl and you leave something at her apartment.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was doing, Paulie. That was exactly what I was thinking. Yep. So I'll see you soon. And I'm getting the Wagyu that time, buddy.
Yes.
No split steaks.
Kobe beef. Yep. Thank you,
See ya.
Nick. All right. That's Nick Wright. First things first, co-host, Fox Sports 1.